Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and get more information and listen to previous shows at our website, which is behind me, www.blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on cool things that are happening throughout Western North Carolina and the country as well. And to that end, it's my pleasure to introduce, I'll say, kind of a longtime friend, Jim Roney with Jim Roney Music. And Jim, welcome for being my guest today.
It's good to be here. Thanks, Blaine.
Okay, and what you can do is you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching. So that's Jim Roney. And Jim Roney is a musician and instructor, playing the guitar for 60 years. Well, you started when you were 2 years old or 3. Is that
Yeah.
close enough, probably?
When I was 10, I just turned 70. So
Okay, teaching students for 30 years. He plays coffee houses, concerts, churches, and benefits. Currently, he's performing in local care facilities. And Jim, you mentioned then already that you started playing when you were 10 years old. What got you into it? How'd you start?
well, what happened? My grandfather was tuning his violin with a pitch pipe, and was down in the workshop. Where there's a bulb hanging and turpentine, and when it went in tune, I looked at him and I said, "That's it." And he could tell I knew the pitch, and he bought me my first guitar that weekend.
So
And then
what was his instrument? Violin?
violin. He was playing violin, was doing it and when it went in tune, I said, "That's it." And he looked at me because I knew the pitch was right.
But how come he didn't buy you? How come he didn't buy you a violin?
Well, because the Beatles were out. I wanted a guitar.
So that's pretty cool. So at 10 years old, you got your first guitar?
First guitar, yeah.
Okay. And how'd you learn it? Did you self-teach yourself?
Pretty much. They gave me lessons. Polly Wolly Doodle was kind of like, it wasn't firing it up for me. And then the Beatles came out, and I got Beatles books, and I was just a real tinkerer with it. I would sit and play and play and play and play. And I guess one of my claims to fame was, the technology today, you can do it different
Right.
ways, but I had a Jimi Hendrix album, and the speeds were 16, 33, 45, and 78. And I looked at it and went, well, 16's half of 32. So, so it was an octave lower, but that's how I learned my pentatonic scale.
Do you ever have lessons?
No, not really. I mean, I'm a student. I watch everybody. I hawk everything. I tell my students, I go, when I go to a concert and I'm in the front row, I still take my binoculars.
Do you really? So
Yeah.
that's interesting. So as a musician, you never took any lessons anywhere along the line?
No.
Well, what's interesting, Jim, too, is they now have it that a lot of, I guess, kids, adults as well, learn verses on YouTube as well. It's incredible.
Always, yeah. Oh, yeah. I put ones up now. So.
Oh, do you? So can people learn to play guitar on YouTube, you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if they're self motivated, I mean, nothing's going to beat somebody sitting across from you to get you started out. But once you know your C chords and stuff, it's the motivated ones can. Like I got a guy I'm working with right now. I have to show him what they're doing. So.
Let me ask you too. In
You
terms,
can pick up a lot. I mean, to me, I mean, I would really, really, really like when I know I was in Florida one time seeing a Fabulous Thunderbirds, and this guy was doing a certain lick, and give me those things, and it's, oh, there it is, I saw he was doing a little trill on a fifth, a flat fifth.
so even then, so you're still learning then?
Oh, I'll be learning until I kick the bucket.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim. In terms of you teaching somebody or somebody on their own picking this up, how much practice is needed? Like even now, do you practice every day?
Oh, well, yeah, I pretty much play every day. Yeah,
Do you really?
yeah, and with playing at the homes now, I'm rehearsing, 5 new songs a month. I just got done, like last week I had 3 shows. So, I'm constantly having it in my hand. My thing for students, especially as busy as they are, I'd say just when you walk by, pick it up, and then just do, and then it's in your hand, and then after a while you go like this, and then 20 minutes later, you go, whoa, the music took you away. So
Well,
I would recommend a half hour a day for anybody that's,
somewhat
wanted to,
serious.
yeah.
Well, in terms of your playing, then, do you ever also? I never asked you this before, but do you also write music?
Yeah, not much, but I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've written when I in my younger days, I say more than now. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the younger days then. So you picked this up at 10. What was the
hmm
first time you ever performed as a musician? Do you
Well, I
remember?
guess I was. What was I? Was 14. It was 1968, and I played the first guitar mass at Our Lady of Mount Carmel School in Doylestown.
Okay, that's 14.
Yeah.
Now,
I
let
was
me ask you this. For that mass, did you get paid?
No.
Do you remember your first time you ever got paid?
Oh boy.
Or around the first
Yeah, I
time?
guess it was. I guess it was more around when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
We'd get gigs and and then get paid. But
Well, I'm a little disappointed because I'm looking in the background. I don't see that check, the first check or the first $10 bill you ever,
no, you won't see that.
no?
That's long
But
gone.
but you were in the 20s the first time you got paid. Did you ever do any busking?
No,
No?
no, no, I
That's a
didn't.
whole new thing too, isn't
Yeah, oh
it?
yeah, a lot of people like doing that too.
Yeah. So you played a church gig in the 20s. Where'd you go from there as a musician?
Well, I mean, what? See, bands are crazy. Plus, I had a little bit of a consumption problem. I got sober in '90, so at the end, I was doing mostly solo uh, things because people couldn't work with me. I couldn't work with them. Type of thing. Got to that thing like so.
Well, I mean, good for you. I mean, so you've been sober since, what's it, 1990?
Yeah, yep, 34 years.
But back then, so even now, do you do primarily solo stuff or do you with
Yeah,
others?
yeah. No, it's right now. It's all solo. If when we get into like some of the stuff, like I would do music camps. I used to have a lot of students. I used to have like about 50 students, and for their recital, I would do a benefit or a firehouse dinner or something like that, and that would be their recitals, and that's when I'd make the band. It was
So I
all
think
about.
I saw that on Facebook, I think at one time where you
Oh
publicized that.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
still do that?
No, the place I was living at, I had a nice stage built in the back. It was beautiful, but then the new landlord came in and raised my rent $750 a month, and I had to go.
The nerve of the guy. So that sounds like a lot of fun, band camps. But right now, so you do solo gigs for the most part. What kind of gigs are you doing now, Jim?
Oh, the solo. Right now. It's all nursing home.
Okay.
Senior living, independent living, skilled nursing, a couple memory care. Last couple weeks ago, I was at my mom's old home where she was, and they had a little campfire. So we were outside on a Friday night. Trying to make s'mores. They made one s'mores, I think.
Now, talk about that. Are these, when you do these gigs, are these sing-alongs?
They definitely sing. I do like "My Girl" and "How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You," and those kind of things. But it's funny, like I'll crank up like "All My Lovin'" by the Beatles, and they're all over it. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you.
And talk about that,
But
Jim. You and I talked about that a little bit. That's amazing that music can do that. As you're saying that we remember this stuff um all our lives. Isn't that incredible?
uh, last Christmas, I played at Neshaminy Manor, which is just south of Doylestown, in the dementia ward. Now they had family there, and I did "Take Me Home, Country Roads," and you would have thought you were at a John Denver concert. They sang so, and half of them can't find their way back to the room. So the music gets in, and it brings it out, and it just comes out. It's just, and that's the if you want to get, I'll tell you how I got started in it. It was COVID,
Right.
and my mom was locked in. It was funny. I would go down to the home to get her wash, and I'm standing out front of a window by the dining hall, and I hear a window slide open. Jim, tell us a joke. We need a joke. So I set up in the parking lot, and they all were on the porch, and it went over great, And I said, so then I visited a guy in the Chamonix Manor, and he said, Jim Bob, you should play here. So I checked in with Jane, the director, and during COVID, I had to do 6 shows in 2 days
Wow.
because they couldn't commingle. You couldn't go to like the multi-purpose room, so I had to do each lunchroom. And I did 3 shows on a Wednesday. I couldn't do the Thursday because I had a conflict. So I went back on a Friday. And after I left on Wednesday, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. There's a lot of hospital beds and just some sad stuff. And the 2 things happened that morning. An aide went over to a gal and said, Jim, Anna's going to be 103 tomorrow. And up here, I'm going, oh, let's sing Happy Birthday. Back here, I'm going, that's another 8 years for Mom. No. And the poor thing, would holler Mommy through the show. And I'm like, oh, my heart is just. But as I go to leave, a guy on the other side, as I'm leaving, real tears. I want to thank you for coming today. And I'm like, wow, he didn't like me. He loved me.
Yeah.
Because I just gave him 45 minutes off of where he was.
Wow.
They can just drift off. Think about it.
When you play these shows, what kind of music do you play?
Well, it's I get put down. It's a mix between folk, rock and roll, some blues. But I do. I got a ukulele and I do a set. Casey would dance with the strawberry blonde and the band played on. And Daisy, Daisy, give me your hands. And so it's a kind of I tell them I'm going to hit you with a wide brush. I'm not just one thing. I just added "That's Life" by Frank Sinatra. So it's a pretty good show. I have more fun than them sometimes.
How many songs do you know?
Do I know?
We'd say no. Musicians amaze me. Actors amaze me. That when you do these shows, you know them like you were just singing before. You know them off the top of your head. You know them.
Oh yeah. Well, what I do like that's like a typical set list,
right?
So I don't know what's that. Maybe 30.
It looks it. Yeah, sure. Right.
So the thing that most of the music I'm good with, I can do that. I do have lyric sheets up to remember the words.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of memorization, to do it smoothly.
Were you always good with memorization of music?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I had the mass learned in Latin, and then they switched it to English.
So
I always had poems. Like I go to parties. It's all about tell us a joke.
Well, talk to me about the music. So how do you learn the music, or just by rote?
Well, to me, it was a process of getting that needle on the record and put it back. Oh, that's a note. Oh, that's a note. And after a while, I would see like A and D and E were always together somehow. And that's because in the key of A, it's 1, 4, 5. What they learned it. Because it's funny, when I went back to school at the college, I learned to become a programmer. I took fundamental music. And I'm learning stuff that I'm go, oh, that's why that worked. Because I knew the E minor pentatonic, but that would also work for G because it's the same key signature.
Now,
so there's this, cart before the horse, however it works.
Talking about stuff you learn from and learn with. So I see behind you, so we'll show you guitar in a second, but you have also a keyboard there. How many instruments do you play?
Guitar, bass guitar, ukulele, keyboard, mandolin, like 5.
That's incredible. You learned all this stuff yourself?
Yeah, self-taught.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And since we're talking about it, I want to put you on the spot here a little bit, Jim. You have, I think, a guitar somewhere. I saw it before. Can you take it out and let's hear at least one of your songs?
One of my songs?
Yeah. Or no, one of the songs you want to play with or share with us.
Let me. What I'm going to do? I'm just going to do this one. I haven't played it in a while.
Okay.
It's like I've been single so long. my love songs are about music. Sun had slipped behind the clouds, hidden from my view, but I could still feel the warmth when I'm next to you. You never let me down. When I call for you, you're always around. And I know I'll never know how you always know somehow. You never let me down.
Very nice. Who is that by?
That's me.
What, you wrote that song?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, very cool. Yeah, you said you don't write. You should write. That was pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that was about 10 years ago, I guess I wrote that one.
When you play music, do you have a favorite area you like playing in, or a favorite type of music you like?
Yeah, I like um I'm a blues guy. I had an interesting thing happen. Susie Boggess was a female best female vocalist in '93 in country music. I worked with her brother, and it was one of those obvious things this guy said that I could not believe it. We were talking to the keyboard guy after the show, and he was talking to Val about she was studying jazz. And he said, for every hour you spend practicing, you should spend 2 hours listening.
Wow.
And I went, boy, if you can't hear Stevie Ray Vaughan and Eric Clapton come out of me, because that's my diet. That's what I've been fed all along. So like when I have a rehearsal with the kids, or something, or even, somebody's going to come in the studio, I go, remember, listening is practice, because it's going to get in there. You're going to have that sixth sense with it.
Well, you mentioned Clapton, for example. Aside from Clapton, any other musicians you recommend to your students to listen to, or guitarists you recommend listening to?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to, when you listen to like one of my favorite things that came out was was it what's the game that came out with
Name that
Guitar
tune?
Hero? Guitar Hero.
Okay.
With the dots and everything like that. I couldn't play that thing to save my butt, but it brought all these great classical songs back. Like 4 kids asked for. Jessica by the Allman Brothers.
Okay.
Because it was on Guitar Hero.
Well,
So I go, that's the best thing. That was like, listen to Dickie Betts, listen to Butch Trucks, listen to, they bring the stuff to me, and then we work it out from there.
well, it reminds me of the show I used to watch as a kid, and I saw it just recently. It's back on. Name That Tune. Same
wow.
thing too. Have you ever heard? The show, right?
Yeah, I remember that one.
But
It's
same
back
thing.
on.
You play, three notes or something and get a song. So you could do that with guitar music. If you hear a couple of notes, you'll know it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing too. Like a lot of people talk about, like you could change the amp and everything like that, and you could still tell that it was Santana. Just by the way his fingers played the string.
You mentioned
there's.
You mentioned you have a studio. Talk about that, Jim. Where's your
Well,
studio?
that's gone since I had to move too. It was I used to do a recording for like small bands. I had one of my students, adult students, that her husband was in this West Side Woodwind Quintet, and it was a flute, oboe, French horn, bassoon, and a clarinet. and I'm going on YouTube find out how to mic these babies, and so like I had that. I had a really nice drum set in there so that people could come in, and then we would do it. Some people would come in and do it one shot. Others would come in and we would use a click track and then dress it up from there. But yeah, I'm um, an engineer. I love engineering and I love producing music.
And you mentioned it's just incredible what you can learn then, I guess, if you want to, from YouTube. It's like you said, like you even learn from it.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that, as I said, as far as like being a musician, I'm always seeing what they're doing. And once because I use Pro Tools and I have a Focusrite interface, and I'm always going online to find. Um, I told one of my friends that she was checking out people's businesses. I said my motto is I'm trying to find the latest tricks to get you the best mix. You know.
Good line.
So like I'm learning how parallel compression, or like how to put a compressor on a reverb to give it a certain kind of wash that you don't hear. You hear it in studio. So yeah, there's a lot to learn. I mean,
I guess the key is you're always learning. Talk to him also about, in terms of, you mentioned you performing. So you perform in these nursing facilities or care facilities?
yeah, yeah.
And what kind of facilities do you perform at? You mentioned a couple off the air. Give an example of that.
Well, there's three levels.
Okay.
Like I play at Pennswood. The area they have me in is in skilled nursing. So they're unfortunately about two doors down from hospice. So
Right.
it's not a. And then there's assisted living or rehabs. So like there's where people are kind of transitioning. They had a little TIA or something like that, and they're trying to build themselves back up. So they're kind of transitioning. So they're a little more. I don't want to say with it, but they engage more. And then there's independent living. And that's where they're. I can say, please stand for the national anthem. The others, you don't do that.
And so the gigs are typically how long?
Hour.
An hour. And so let's talk about this fact that if anybody's interested in having you come to their facility or whatever, what's the best way to track you down?
Well, I have a Jim Roney music page on Facebook.
Okay.
So you can look that up. And I'm also, Jim Roney on Facebook. I do have a website, JIMMERO studio.com. I don't know if I can put this up
You can.
here.
I think we'll repeat it again. I think it's better. Just
So,
repeat it, if you would, the
so
address.
it's JIMMERO studio.com. And then inside of that, you can email me.
Okay. So that's the best way to track you down?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're available, you mentioned gigs for some of these care facilities. What other kind of gigs are available for, or do you play?
Well, like I just played at a church. Church had a country fair flea market Saturday, and I just go and play there. That same church has a soup supper third Tuesday, so I just take my guitar, sit in the corner, 2 songs, bowl of soup, 2 songs, bowl of soup.
Okay. And do
Or
they,
like if Santa's at the firehouse, I go, and I love doing that because like I'll be playing and they'll come up and go, "Where's your speakers and stuff?" I go, "Oh, you don't upstage Santa." No, no,
but
you can. I don't.
when you do that, do you at least get a bowl of soup? Do they feed you? They give you a bowl of soup?
Oh yeah, they
Okay.
take it.
At least you get paid for that. But I love that line though. So, and I don't know about you, or in terms of music, but I love acoustic, guitar.
Mhm.
Is that what you play mostly?
Yeah, I play acoustic. Yeah. Now I have an amp because some of the when I first started at Neshaminy, when I did those 6 shows, I had a mask and a shield on.
Right.
So it was really hard. Sometimes they couldn't hear the words and stuff. So I do have an amp so that those that have a little, some hearing issues, I can cut through and I can, because I know this. I'm going to be on one Friday and there's always a gal. What do you say? What do you say? So, you want to make sure that they can hear too.
Well, what's incredible, Jim, how it's changed is my wife now has hearing aids, and just within the last couple of weeks, she's got the hearing aids that play. The TV goes right into the hearing aids. You don't even
Wow.
have to have outside noise. And I don't know if
Life.
you've seen it. A couple of theaters now have that. A couple of movie theaters have it.
Yeah,
Which is it changes the whole thing because even with hearing aids, it's not quite the same thing as it coming right into from the TV. So just loves that. Jim,
exactly.
let me put you on the spot two ways. One, I'm going to ask you to maybe just play one other song, but doesn't
Okay.
have to be one you wrote.
Okay.
And talk about what guitar you're using when you play that.
Okay. So what I use is well, this one is not an acoustic electric. This is just a regular acoustic six string steel string guitar. And I didn't make sure I was tuned earlier.
And well, I'll talk as you do. Do you have a name for this guitar?
It's a Fender Squire.
You didn't give a separate name other than that?
No, just a Fender Squire. It was one of my former students' guitars. Unfortunately, he passed from aplastic anemia.
Okay,
So I
sorry
use
to hear
that.
that. So how long you've had this guitar?
Oh, 10, 12 years.
Okay.
So, but what I'll do is I'll say like, well, let's just do this one. It's a song that needs no introduction, and everybody sings it like crazy. So let me do two. I'll do just one verse of two
Please,
songs.
yeah.
I got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I got the month of May. Well, I guess you'd say, what could make me feel this way? My girl, talking about my girl. And then I usually do 3 or 4 songs by the Hillbilly Shakespeare. Ken Burns did a country music special, and
Right.
that's what they would. The Hillbilly Shakespeare was Hank Williams Sr.
Okay.
Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me? Hey, sweet baby, don't you think maybe we could find us a brand new recipe? I got a hot rod board and a $2 bill, and I know a spot right over the hill. The soda pop and the dancing is free. So if you wanna have some fun, come along and let's say, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up? How's about cooking something up? How's about cooking something up with me?
Jim, I have to say, your fans and also anybody watching this program are lucky that I wasn't singing along with you. And let me ask you a question I've always wondered too. So it seems your music lends itself to people singing along. Just you want to. Do you have it ever that somebody is like woefully off tune, or you wish they wouldn't sing along? Does that ever happen?
Oh yeah. Last Friday, just she was belting it out. And I always think of my mom. I mean, she was, she'd be at church, you'd be like, oh my God, that's awful. She goes, so God gave me this voice, he's going to listen to it. That's what she would say.
And she had a good time with it?
She loved singing,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, let me ask you this question, the final question. So when you're giving lessons, so your music, the way you play, it lends itself to people singing along. You can teach somebody to play guitar, but I guess you can't teach them to sing. Or is that they're two separate skills?
Yeah. I mean, that's to me, it's a you got it or you don't type of thing. You can work with people to feel the pitch and that, but to me, when I tell my students, especially the ones that want to sing, make sure your guitar is on autopilot so that you can worry about the singing. You know, like when I would sing or I would play at St. John's Catholic Church, I didn't sing a lot because I was reading music, and I couldn't. You know, you just can't mesh that. You know, I mean, to me, you gotta focus on the one thing. And so if I had to focus on guitar, singing was out of the question.
It reminds me of the one song I do because I don't have a great singing voice. I have lousy memory, but I do one song, Jim, and it's tequila. I can do
Okay.
tequila, you know, the one word in that, but you know, the song, yeah, tequila,
Tequila.
so I can do that
You,
one.
you nail it though. You nail it
Exactly.
though.
And I don't have to worry about anything else, just that one word. Jim Roney, if folks again want to get in touch with you to have play at a gig or come to their school or take lessons, best bet is go to the website or the email. What would you say?
Yeah, go to website. You can email me through the website. It's Jim at Jim Rose Studio. I'll put that up there if you want to freeze frame the thing.
Okay. Gotcha.
And
Okay.
the phone number's there. And this is an interesting thing down here. I trademarked that. That's a cyber guitar.
Very cool.
Here's the keys, the tuning
I
keys.
say, yeah, very cool.
So,
So,
I'm working with one of my students. He went on to music law. Let's see if I can sell it to Gibson or Fender.
okay. Well, anyway, very cool. Jim Roney, thanks for being my guest on this edition of Blaine's World webcast. I'm honored this is the first time you ever done this, so you did great. We got through it. And I hope to see you sometime in the not too distant future. And I'd also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti. And I want to sign off, Jim, but stay with me right afterwards and we can wrap up. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.